Main power supply here for everything. It's out of control. Certain patterns light up. It's very impressive looking. So I'm gonna crack this open, see what's inside here. So now we have a 12 volt to 5 volt converter for $1. My Arduino that controls my legs just burned up. Oh, how frustrating. I was so close to done with this, guys. The diode goes like this. Prevents arcing inside the relays. Yeah, so there's another failure there. Okay, so let's discuss the solution. I think that's gonna look pretty cool. This is the switch area. I just impaled myself with the spring. Okay, welcome back to another episode of Montclair's Lair. I know we're all sick of looking at this stuff. I'm sick of it too. But guess what? This is the last video on the electrocution prop. We're gonna finish this guy up today. So, last video where I left off, I was talking about wiring up these things. And I decided to use these barrel plug connectors for that, just so, again, for quick disconnect, so I can reprogram the boards. The wires will come out of this, go to this thing, and this other end will connect into these relays here. Now the other idea I had to simplify this wiring, because it's just really gotten out of hand. I've got additional power supplies for these relays, and then I would have to have another power supply for the LED things, these deals. Then I've got this main power supply here for everything. It's out of control. And doing a little bit of research, I wanted to find out how I can convert this 12 volts to 5 volts to power the relays separately, and also to power these things. And there were a lot of discussions about voltage regulators that I had seen on the Arduino forums or various forums. And there's also a way to do it with resistors. But one of the interesting ways that I saw to do it was with, again, one of these USB things, but with the car version, the one that's got the thing that you plug into your cigarette lighter, or power adapter as they call it in your car now. I have to go pick some up, but those take 12 volts that come in from your car and then convert it to 5 volts. I would actually be able to take the thing apart, get rid of this whole shell, along with the part that plugs into the cigarette lighter, get rid of all of that, and just have this little tiny circuit board that converts 12 volts to 5 volts. So I'll have this come out into the 12 volt version of this, the car adapter version, and that'll change over to 5 volts, and then the 5 volts will power the relays and this thing. I think before I do any of that, though, is I'm going to actually get the converters to make sure that idea is going to work, because I don't want to have to redo this after undoing it to accommodate that. Taking a little drive to the dollar store. This cool thing just passed me over here, like a motorcycle or something. Alright, well, I'd call that a success. Picked up 10 of these. They're supposedly 5 volt, 1 amp output. We'll test that to make sure. And I cleaned them out of all of these things. I figured I can use them for other props too, because they are pretty cool. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. 10 of these. Grabbed another one of these just in case I screw up the ones that I have already, and pick myself up some shades from my prescription glasses. So let's get back. Okay, so I've taken the Gatorade bottle and frosted it with that frosted glass from Rust-Oleum. It gives a really nice effect. Now I took the toy, took the circuit board out, and this is it here. It previously had this little white tube going over the LEDs to diffuse the light, but we decided that it looks better without that. I'm going to show you what a nice effect that gives. So this is it without anything. So I mean, you can see they're pretty bright, and they're angled away from front view. They're pointing up and pointing down. I've decided that actually looked better, and that's how they came by default, but I angled them a little more towards front so that they give a really good impression here. And this is what it looks like inside this frosted glass, and it looks really awesome. The color's really getting washed out on the video, but I think you can see it there. And the frosted bottle does a really nice job of diffusing that on its own. And in person, this looks phenomenal. It's extremely bright, and it's very diffused. And when the certain patterns light up, it's just it's very impressive looking. Actually, it's going to look great. Now, the way I'm going to fix this thing to the bottle is going to get the wiring all done here, get rid of the batteries, which I've just taped up because they kept falling apart on me. Just going to drill a couple of holes in the back here and zip tie them in, maybe here and then down at the back, and that way the thing is going to rest right on the very back, which I decided actually looks the best. It gives you the best appearance. So if I put it up in the middle, then it's not quite as good, and then this way the LEDs can cast all of their light, you know, on the front of the bottle. It's really quite impressive in real life here. Nice effect. Gonna take this and break it apart. Looks like we've got a little screw here. So I'm gonna crack this open, see what's inside here, and then we'll convert this into something that I can draw off of my 12-volt power supply. We just don't really care about any of that stuff. All we're after is this circuit. This must be positive because this ground is everywhere. I think that just comes right off of there. Yep. I guess the easiest thing to do would just be to see if it actually works. Okay, so I have determined that this is definitely positive and this is definitely negative. We can see because the LED is on. It wouldn't be on if I had the voltage backwards. So that much we know. And the next step is to actually measure this voltage and make sure it's actually 5 volts and not some other baloney here. There we go. It's exactly 5 volts. A little more, maybe 5.1. I don't know if the meter is exactly calibrated. As far as amperage, I can't measure it. My meter doesn't do amperage, but I assume it's going to be 1 amp or less. I can't imagine this thing putting out much more, and it doesn't really matter in this situation. Probably the more the better. Have that power the relays and the flashing LEDs, and if we find that we're having reset issues, I got 10 more of these suckers. I've determined that this pin right here is the 5-volt positive output. This is a ground, all of this is. This is also tied to the ground. That's where the USB pin actually is inside the thing up here. And the input for the 12 volts positive is here. So we're gonna run 12 volts positive in here, connect to ground to this, anything on this trace, and then solder a wire here to go out for positive 5 volts, and then again ground to anything on this. Probably take off this little thing, or maybe leave it on. I don't know, it's not hurt anything. Maybe wondering why I don't just use the hacked up cable that I already made, and it's a good question. I don't know why, but there's probably a reason. It's pretty ugly, but it's on there. There we go. If I did this right, that should light up. Did it right. 5 volts. Excellent. I did it right. So now we have a 12 volt to 5 volt converter for $1. Okay, so this is the relay that switches the legs, and it has 12 volts coming into it. This is just 12 volts right off of the main power supply. This is the ground, and this is the positive. So I'm going to tap in right here I'll run my ground to this thing, and then that will give me 5 volts right here coming out of this thing that I can wire into everything else. See if that worked. And it did. Excellent. I just soldered the connections here for the switch part. So these 2 wires will go back to the relays and control the switching. This is part of the negative trace right here. And then this one is the positive coming out of the chip up here. It's coming in, it's going to the switch and getting tested or whatever. So we replaced that. And I can connect the grounds down at the relay point, but I need to, right here, I need to connect a positive still to go to my USB cable that I'm hacked up here. And that'll be plugged into the hacked up car charger that I took apart. And the reason I did it like that is just for quick disconnection. So if I need to reprogram the board or whatever, I can just pull all of this stuff off of there and that's it. It's been a fun project, but at this point I'm going to call it quits for a while on this because my Arduino that controls my legs just burned up. For whatever reason, don't really know. Chip gets so hot it burned the tip of my finger. It's done, so I need another Uno. Okay, so here's what happened. Over here on this board, I had accidentally taken the full 12 volts coming in. It's coming in here, getting jumpered to over here. And I accidentally connected a jumper from this over to this. And this is my 5 volt system here for the LEDs. So when I did that, apparently that got into the system because I had these LEDs hooked up here. Not with the battery, obviously. And I had power connected to this from my other USB cable that was plugged in here, which provides the positive power here. So once I did that, I ended up running 12 volts through this, which completely fried it. It doesn't work anymore. It also ran 12 volts back through this thing, burned this out. Ran that all the way back in through this entire wiring system and fried this Arduino clone over here. This one stood up to it and did not burn out. In my haste to try to fix it without actually checking my wiring first, I thought maybe the Arduino went bad because I had one of the clones went bad on me without any wiring changes. It just went bad. I figured maybe that one went bad too. I put my last remaining clone on here, and as soon as I connected power to it, puff, the magic blue smoke. So that is gone. So I now am out of Arduinos. I had 4 of them and I've burnt out 3. So the project is going to be on hold here. I mean, I've got to replace this. I did test the relays. This is still working. I know this one held up, and if that one held up, I'm going to assume this one's good too. If not, I have 2 more sets of relays I can replace this with. But in the interim, I've got to redo this completely. Luckily, I've got a bunch of these. It's not a big deal, just a couple of solder points. Got to finish the wiring here and replace this. So after that, the project's going to be on hold. I've got to wait for these things to ship from China. I made sure I ordered a bunch of them this time. We'll have 6. So that'll give me 6 chances to get it right. Oh, how frustrating. I was so close to done with this, guys. All I had left to do was stuff this in this frosted bottle here. I'm going to spare you the agony of watching me rewire all of this crap because you've seen it already, and I know you're sick to death of looking at it, and I know that I am too, but just be careful. When you make one little mistake here, fry the whole damn thing. Try to get a little creative with my wiring and just had one little brain fart, and it cost me dearly. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and you'll get notifications when I post future videos. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.